It's been the talk of town. And I'm not talking about the price of our HDB flats. I'm talking about them. Pigeons. Complaints against these birds have been going up, calling them a nuisance and a health risk. There were 7,600 pigeon-related complaints in 2018. That's a 40% jump compared to the year before.
So they've been called rats with wings. Not too long ago, I worked on an episode on rats to find out why they're such a huge problem here in Singapore. Well, in this episode of Talking Point, we want to take a look at their winged counterparts who are not quite as furry, but just as much of a nuisance. And we want to find out what the problem is and what the solution might be.
Sembawang, Ang Mo Kio, Hougang. These are some of the neighborhoods in Singapore where the complaints are from. They are also the areas which have registered a booming pigeon population. But today, I am headed to Geylang Serai, a prominent battleground between man and bird. I've arranged to meet stallholder Muhammad Amin. He's been battling with pigeons for the past 4 years.
As I was walking in, I noticed there are quite a few pigeons already.
Yeah.
How serious a problem is this?
Sometimes the pigeon come and disturb a customer. Sometimes the pigeon take a food, some food.
So make the whole place messy.
Yeah.
This happens every day?
Yeah, every day.
Well, I'm here to help you today,
Okay.
to chase those pigeons away. So what do you want me to do?
I have a shirt, so I give
cool,
you.
man.
It's like pigeon police.
Oh, I'm going to be the pigeon policeman. Go, go, go! Get out of here, get out of here! Go. It's like they know we're here, see? They're just there, looking down on us going, when he walks there, I'm gonna fly there. You know, they've got a plan too. I see you guys! Oh, there's one guy in there. Mr. Pigeon, you were in the wrong place. He doesn't even fly. Excuse me. You can't win this war. They just keep coming back. Fly away and they fly back. Because it's the same birds that are coming back. So I shoot them away, they fly back again. I shoot them away, they fly back again.
This is hard work.
Is it?
And I guess if they leave food like that,
Yeah.
they will come and...
Come and take some food.
I also heard they closed the market down for a while, right?
Yeah.
What did they do?
Put a poison.
Wow.
Like that. Yeah, that's it.
But did it work?
Nothing happened.
So it really sounds like there isn't much of a solution. Amin mentioned how they had, closed the market, they had cleaned it, they had even put spikes in certain areas, and right over there now, they're all still perched there. So is there any solution to getting rid of them?
In an attempt to control their numbers, some town councils have resorted to culling. That's where these birds have to be put to sleep humanely with the use of carbon dioxide gas. But animal rights activists are crying foul over their deaths, calling it an outright case of cruelty and alarming. They say that culling shouldn't be the way we deal with the booming pigeon population. I wonder if others feel the same way.
I'll ask you a question. Do you think we should get rid of them? We should kill the pigeons?
I should think so. Get rid of them. Cannot.
Cannot.
They are land everywhere. They eat everything.
Do you think we should remove them by culling, by killing them?
Should be the only way forward, I think.
So do you believe in culling?
Yes.
Okay.
Cull them. No choice.
You see, sometimes in nature you need all this, so you shouldn't cull them.
Okay.
Because
what should we do?
that's naturally you should let them. Don't feed them. That's all.
Culling is a bit harsh lah. want to a place where they can just be there and be happy there. Yeah, but not culling them.
Something like the bird park kind of thing, but not to that scale. But it's a controlled area where they have their own world and we have our own world.
I see. Okay, so just separate them into their own space. That's what you're saying.
That's correct. Live and let live.
People seem to be divided on whether these birds deserve to be dead or left alone. So I want to know how current policies manage these different views. NParks is the agency in charge of keeping the pigeon population in check. They also provide the guidelines when pest companies conduct culling.
How often would culling be employed?
This would be a very targeted method for removing, for reducing population in specific areas where the pigeon population is posing a particular nuisance or inconvenience to the community.
Okay, and how is that determined? Who decides on that?
Right, so this would be based on feedback that we receive.
How effective is it as a method in dealing with the situation?
Well, population management strategies are actually just short-term measures, and it's important in the long term to actually look at population growth being affected by the availability of food in our urban environment.
So you would do other things first?
Basically, we are looking at habitat modification. So, for example, you would see that some of the roosting surfaces in urban areas, we have slopes on them to prevent pigeons from roosting on them. The other thing that we are looking at is to reduce the availability of food for the pigeons around us.
NParks believes that culling should be a last resort, and that the real issue comes from humans feeding the pigeons. Just how big of a problem is that? They can spread diseases like psittacosis, which can cause lung infections. And their dried up feces can cause cryptococcosis, which results in nausea, vision changes, and even seizures. And with some people feeding them, they are dangerously close to our homes. These pigeons are pests, and I need to understand them better. I've been doing some research, trying to find the best mind to have spent years studying and analysing the behaviour of Singapore's pigeons. And I think I found him. Dr. Tang Tian has published the only comprehensive study of pigeons in Singapore, and he's agreed to share his insights with me.
Basically, pigeon is a domesticated species, so they have already adapted to the human resources and the human habitat. So that's why they come to Singapore, they can immediately adapt to the environment, and then they will boom in their population size.
So it's quite a perfect place for pigeons to be living here, right?
Yes, actually their original habitat is rock cliffs around the Mediterranean and North Africa region. So I think the buildings simulates the original habitat very much. And also given that there is not many nature enemies around in Singapore, so that's a perfect place for them. There is no something like snakes or eagles that can harass them.
What about culling them?
Personally, I think culling is a temporary solution because pigeons are known to produce really fast. According to some research in Europe, a pigeon couple can reproduce 6 pigeons for 1 year. So, which means even though you cull them, then the population will regrow back to a very high level after a few years.
But how did the pigeon proliferation even begin? To understand this bird boom, we have to wind the clock back 50 years. Singapore's pigeons are commonly known as rock pigeons. They are an invasive species and were first recorded at Victoria Theatre along Empress Place in 1968. At this point, only a few hundred were seen in Singapore, But with pigeons multiplying at a rate of at least 1 to 6 yearly, their population numbers have soared. Today, Singapore is home to nearly 200,000 pigeons.
With a lack of predators to keep the pigeons in check and a constant access to food, it's no surprise that it's been difficult to contain the pigeon population.
It's illegal to feed pigeons in Singapore, and a conviction can lead to a fine of up to $500. In 2018, 2 men were punished for repeatedly feeding the birds. They were among 330 people charged with this offence last year, the highest number in the past 3 years. I want to know why people are feeding the pigeons despite the warnings. So I'm taking to the streets to hunt down bird feeders.
A lot of birds, right, on pigeons? So I've been going around trying to ask people about bird feeders, and some of them say they do see them occasionally, usually older folks sitting around feeding the pigeons. But the thing is, no one is willing to go up and tell these people that they should not be feeding the pigeons. And that is the real problem.
But the community at Yio Chu Kang claims it's found a solution. Since May last year, grassroots leaders have been canvassing the neighborhood, talking to residents about why they shouldn't feed pigeons. Today, I'm joining Member of Parliament for the area, Dr. Kopo Kun, on his rounds.
Because there was quite a bit of a pigeon problem here, in this, just between these 2 blocks of
Just
flats.
here, right in this patch.
Just right in this open space here. There was a whole, I think a flock of maybe about 80 to 100 or more pigeons. My hypothesis then was that it arises because of feeding, especially high-rise feeding from residents, because the blocks have the kitchens facing each other.
Hi, hello. Hey.
We went door to door. We start to engage residents one by one, and we did about 6 rounds of engagement across these 2 blocks. Most of them do it out of the kindness of their heart. They say, well, I just want to do a good deed and, feed the pigeons because they may not have food and kind of thing. Then I think some of them, when they realize that, do actually stop their actions, but there are some that actually continue to do so. So we take enforcement actions.
Is this sustainable? Do you think this is going to last?
Well, I think for now, at least what this pilot shows is that in the last 6-7 months, since we stopped the enforcement activity, since we stopped the education activity, there's a certain durability to the outcome, and we don't see the birds coming back in a big way. So hopefully the residents can continue to not go back to the old ways of feeding.
When I first got here, I saw some posters on the wall saying don't feed the pigeons, but I thought nothing of it. But I realized that for education to work, you really need to take the time, invest in it, and spend time speaking to people, for example.
So if education can't be the quick fix, what can be?
So from your experience, this is the best way to keep the birds away?
This is the best way to repel them.
I've seen how big of a nuisance pigeons can be. But I've also seen how our food waste can be the cause of the problem. And one of the methods the town councils have resorted to in order to control the pigeon issue is to call upon these guys.
Anti-Semex is one of the largest pest companies in Singapore and receives an average of 200 pigeon-related queries a year. That's 1 call every other day. But since 2016, they found a new solution to keep pigeons at bay without culling. To find out how, I'm joining the company for a day as a pest control officer.
Okay, so we have spikes in here. There are about 20 in the box, right?
Yeah, 20 in the box.
Okay, there are some other things that you need. Is the glue, the gloves for you.
And I'm being paired up with Muhammad Hisham. our first location. It's a landed property on Dryburgh Avenue. The homeowners here have been harassed by pigeons for over 6 months. We start by placing spikes along the perimeter of the house to keep the pigeons from perching on the walls.
So now we've stuck it on. When do you have to come back and check it?
6 to a year.
6 months to a year?
Yeah.
Oh, then you come back and check maintenance, see whether some have dropped off, broken. So from your experience, this is the best way to keep the birds away?
This is the best way to repel them from perching.
Okay, and from your experience, when you install them, do the clients call you and say, hey, it's not working? Or usually?
None. I can say none. Yeah, after the installation, everything was fine.
Okay. Let's go. So this was actually a relatively simple process to sort of, just put up those spikes on the ledges. And I think this is something we could probably do more of to help keep birds away. It's a very simple, effective bird repellent tool.
With this location now pigeon-proof, we're on to our next one. A condominium swimming pool area in Tampines. I've been told that given the size of this estate, bird spikes are not feasible. So we're going to try sedating and relocating the birds with a special bird feed.
Now, what we're going to do is that we're going to scatter all the beans, okay, which I've already premixed to sedate them.
Okay. This is what was the premix? You mean you're giving them some? You said peas.
Yes, and premix with a powder form of bird cool.
And how long does it normally take from the time they eat it?
Depends on how much they eat.
Okay.
5 to 10 minutes or so. Then after that, when they down on the floor, then we just go around and pick them out and put it in the cage.
And then we'll
move them away from here.
We've thrown out the pellets about 3-4 minutes ago. Now it's just a matter of waiting. They are a bit suspicious because we're standing around, so we're going to go and hide in a corner for a while so that the birds don't see us. When they come out, we'll see whether they start eating the pellets.
Soon, the birds start feasting. And one by one, the sedative effect kicks in.
So six pigeons in here. As you can see, they're all sedated. Some are a bit more knocked out than others. Depends on the amount of peas that they had eaten. But as you can see, they're still in good shape. Just having a good nap, and then we'll bring them somewhere special and release them.
After sweeping up the remaining beans to ensure no other animals feed on them, we're ready to go.
So where are we going to go?
Tampines, somewhere near Sungai Haji Isa.
And we're sure it's not near any other like HDB flat.
Yeah, I'm very pretty sure it's not near to those HDB flats and everything. Yeah.
Because otherwise they will just fly to those flats, right?
Correct, yes.
How effective is this? I mean, do the pigeons really stay in that area, or do they leave after a while?
They will definitely leave, fly elsewhere, but for how long they stay to a place, I'm not very sure yet.
So this solution is actually a temporary solution only?
Yeah, it is a temporary solution.
Okay, we got our gloves on. Let's take these guys out. So what happens now?
Okay, we're going to place them outside the cage, and then we have to wait them until they recover from
But they still look quite sleepy, quite sedated.
So they have to calm down for a while, probably maybe about half to 1 hour from now, yeah, then they will fly.
So I understand not all the pigeons make it, right?
Yeah, I can say 95% from this process,
Okay, but 5% why?
Because they may overconsume the beans that we fed them.
I see, and I guess you can't control how much they eat, right?
Yes, we can't control that.
It's not a perfect solution. There's still some casualties along the way, but it's better than just culling the pigeons.
But is a no-casualty solution possible? And Barasi Bhupal is the Deputy Chief Executive of wildlife advocacy group ACRES. She's been spearheading public education campaigns on pigeons for the past 8 years. ACRES has recently proposed using lofts in Singapore. Lofts are essentially homes for pigeons. For this idea to work, cleaners are employed to maintain the lofts. Once a week, they would swoop in and clear out pigeon eggs to prevent them from hatching.
The lofts you're talking about, something like this, where would these be placed?
They can be placed in places where the pigeons all congregate in huge numbers. Say a simple loft with, say, 50 pigeonholes or 20 pigeonholes. They can be installed in a HDB area. They can go in and out as they please, and they will start using it as a nest where they will lay eggs. Someone needs to go in on, say, a weekly basis to remove the eggs and clean up the place as well.
Oh, so you remove the eggs. Then won't they come back and think, oh no, what's happened to my eggs?
They should be replaced with dummy eggs.
Right.
So they will continue their, the nesting cycle. But again, the removal of eggs can be done more systematically. Not all eggs need to be removed. So that also shows that it is not about eradicating the birds, but also keep a safer population of pigeons left in Singapore. In 1 year, if all the eggs are removed from these nesting holes, we are looking at a reduction of about 2,000 to 3,000 pigeons itself from the population.
For now, no pilot tests have been conducted for lofts to be placed around Singapore. And culling continues to be a measure to control the pigeon population.
But the pigeon problem has arisen because of us and our food waste. So until we learn to stop leaving food behind, I think I'm going to continue to have a job right here.